I feel like lately, Genshin Impact's 4 stars have been kind of interesting. Not only are there now more 5 stars than 4 stars, which in my opinion is dumb, but a lot of the 4 stars that are released nowadays are just overlooked in general. Sure, there are good to great ones like Gameng, Auroran, and Chevres, but no one really talks about them. People usually focus on the event 5 stars while relying mostly on the same 4 stars that have been great since the beginning. What do I mean by the beginning? I mean literally 1.0. Since 1.0 was one of the very first Genshin releases, the balancing between 5 stars and 4 stars was not the best. Because of this, we had what I like to call the 5 pillars of 4 stars from 1.0 that will pretty much always be relevant in some way. Xingqiu, Bennett, Zhangling, Sucrose, and Fischl. Of these 5 characters, I'd say the most interesting one is Fischl. Of the 5 Electro characters released in 1.0, she is by far the best and still one of the best Electro characters in the game. And something really interesting about some of the earliest Genshin tier lists is that while characters like Bennett and Sucrose were lower than they are now, Fischl has always been really high up. But the question is, what makes Fischl really good? Well, let's find out by playing Genshin Impact using only Fischl. Here are the rules. I can only use Fischl in battle. Any puzzles that require another element can be completed with another character. No items in battle, no co-op for fighting enemies, and all bows are allowed. This will be my first challenge featuring all of Natlan, and because of that, I'll be going more in-depth with quests like I did with Fontaine and Dory only, so spoiler warning for those who haven't completed them yet. Now let's see if you can beat Genshin Impact using only Fischl. The challenge starts with us pulling Fischl, which I don't have the footage for sadly. My streak of having the footage for me pulling the character as the start of a solo challenge is over! First is Amber's domain, which we quickly skip by platforming on some rocks and gliding to the Door of Resurrection at the end. Next is Kaya's domain, which we plowed through quickly, and last is Lisa's domain, which we also skip by jumping off of an invisible rock. Now we need to reach AR10 to start Mondstadt Act 2, and here's where I usually go over the pros and cons of the character I'm using. Let's start with the pros. Oz. Just Oz. He's the biggest pro about Fischl's kit. When you summon Oz, he shoots electro shots to enemies closest to him that deal a lot of damage for just being simple projectiles. Don't forget about the fact that he has deployment damage as well. Pairing that with the fact that you can also change his location while he's out makes him probably one of the most versatile summons in the game. After he goes away, he has a 15-second cooldown, which would be pretty bad if it weren't for the fact that you can also summon him using your burst. And then once he goes away, the cooldown won't go back to 15 seconds. It'll go back to what it was supposed to be before he was out. So if you summon him through the burst while the cooldown is still counting down, you'll probably be able to summon him right away. Oz is an amazing summon, and there's a reason people say you don't play Fischl, you play Oz. But what about Fischl herself? Well, her charge attacks are pretty strong and her normal attacks are pretty good. I feel like a lot of people forget that her signature weapon is a physical damage weapon, so her normal attacks are actually not too bad because of that. Of course, people are never going to use her for that, but for this challenge, it's beneficial. Her element being Electro also gives her access to some of the best reactions in a solo challenge, like Overloaded, Spread, Aggravate, and especially Electro Charged. Funny to think that Electro Charged went from one of the most useless reactions in the game to absolutely broken in 5.2. Also, both her passive talents that she gets through Ascension are related to Oz, which automatically make them useful. That's all the pros, now for the cons. Her sustain is pretty bad. A lot of her attacks have you standing still for quite a bit, and it doesn't help that she has low base HP. That's kind of okay because you're going to kill most enemies before they get a chance to hit her. Outside of that, I'm not lying when I say I can't really find anything to complain about for Fischl. For being a character released in 1.0, she is designed amazingly. Not just in terms of kit, because oh my god, girl, slay. To reach AR10, we explored Mondstadt and cleared Adventure Handbook challenges, which quickly got us to AR10. This gives us a free 10 pull on Standard banner, so let's see what we get. The Stringless. Watch, this is going to be the Stringless. FUCK! I'll never be rid of the Mika curse. Now time to start Act 2. We meet Venti, who takes us to Windrise to fight an Eye of the Storm. Because Fischl uses a bow, we could hit it even when it flew up, and so could Oz. We then steal the Holy Lyre and meet the other character who got an outfit in 2.8, and he takes us to the Fatui hideout where we fight a Fatui agent. Adding to the list of amazing things about Oz, he doesn't care if the agent is invisible, he still tracks onto him. Now we need to get 3 teardrop crystals to fix the lyre, and we first need to take down a Ruin Guard. From the start of the fight until the end, he was able to get only 1 attack out, because we are really easily able to stun him because Fischl uses a bow. Next we open a random chest to get the next teardrop crystal, and last is the domain, which was also easy as we could drain away the Pyro Abyss Mage's shield using the water that is conveniently placed in the room. Now I can summon Dvalin. Now we need to reach AR 18 to start Act 3. Something that we unlock around this time is commissions, which is one of the best and most consistent sources of experience in the game, so we'll make sure to do them at every opportunity. After completing those, I did some more random monster exploration, including a domain, the 3 barrier quests in Dadaupa Gorge, opening chests, and getting some Menoculi. That's where I stopped for the day, and the next time I played, it was at the start of 5.4. Normally this wouldn't really matter, but they made a pivotal change that will forever affect challenges going forward. They buffed the hell out of the Adventure Handbook. Normally completing a challenge in the Adventure Handbook gives you 100 experience per completion, but after 5.4, completing challenges in Chapter 2 gives you 200 experience, Chapter 3 gives you 300, and everything past gives you 400. That makes AR grinding, especially early on, so much faster. To show how broken this is, I was at low AR 15 at the start of this clip, and after collecting only 5 of them, I reached AR 16. Okay, the bow that's not Siege Wings. That was easy. Nice. Thank you. Still hoping for the string list, but I'll be putting this weapon on her for now. It's also important to mention that we've ascended Fischl around this time, which gave us her first passive talent, which makes Oz even better. After that, I did Amber's and Kaya's story quest, a domain for a Shrine of Depths key, some more Mondstadt exploration, and finished it off with some Cecilia garden runs, which is the weapon ascension domain in Mondstadt. Now we're at AR 18 and we can start Act 3. The Hydro Abyss Mage at the entrance to Stormterror's lair had its shield quickly taken down with our electro attacks, and inside Stormterror's lair we take on another Abyss Mage, this one being Pyro. Overloaded makes quick work of his shield, and now it's time to fight Dvalin. Sadly, this wasn't a one-phase fight because most of our damage was coming from Oz, and once he's gone, we have to rely on our minimally invested normal attacks. It was still easy though, so it's fine. That's where Mondstadt Act 3 ends. Fun fact, Fischl cleared Mondstadt faster than any other character. Partially because of the Adventure Handbook buff, partially because Fischl is goated. Now we need to reach AR 23 to start Liyue Act 1. After doing my commissions, I switched to Favonius Warbow because we can't ascend Moon's Moon. Afterwards, I did some Spiral Abyss and then fought the Electro Hypostasis. Normally, Fischl can't beat the Electro Hypostasis because she can't destroy the Electro Prisms at the end of the fight, but I did a poll asking if I could use another character to destroy the Prisms, and most people said yes, so I'm going to allow the use of Amber only to destroy the Prisms. Listen, I just did Mika only, give me some slack. Yippee! I feel like now's a good time to start Liyue exploration. In my opinion, outside of Dragonspine, Liyue is the best place to get experience. Jaculi hunting is easy, the world quests are easy, and the overall world exploration is fun and not very challenging. While exploring, somebody joined my world and I embraced my inner Fischl. What does thy need from the Prinzessin der Vertelang? One isn't in need of assistance. Next I did the Chi of Your World quest in Liyue, and in full girl boss fashion, she destroyed the Ruin Guards and Ruin Hunter at the end. Next I did Dielig story quest, some commissions, and some Cecilia garden runs to reach AR 23. Now we can start Liyue Act 1. Rex Lapis dies and Child tells us to inform the Adepti of his passing, starting with Mooncarver. This will be the stringless. I hate the Lion's Roar. I hate it so much. Because of Mooncarver's buff, we were constantly able to let the Wings of Darkness come sever night from day. Next was Mountain Shaper, and if I had to break more of this Amber than I actually needed to, I would have gone insane. Next is Cloud Retainer, who we made some food for before easily skipping her domain by jumping off a tree. Last was Zhao, and the Ruin Hunter in this part of the quest did more damage than it probably should have. That's the end of Act 1, and now we need to reach AR 25 to start Act 2. First thing I did was Razor Story quest, and for completing that we unlocked the Wolf of the North, which I also did and wasn't that bad. After that I did Lisa's story quest and continued on with Liyue exploration. This included opening chests, doing some world quests, and unlocking more of the map. When we reached AR 25, we ascended Fischl and her weapon, and we also leveled her talents a bit. The Ascension domain was easy of course, and now we can start Act 2. We meet another fancy, dignified person and he takes us to Mondstadt to boil some rocks. Fischl couldn't heat up the pot, so we used Amber. With her helping us for the Electro Hypostasis and now the cooking pot, this might as well be called Fischl and Amber only. Next we go through the part of the quest that definitely isn't boring, and then we go inside Granny's teapot to fight some slimes. Fischl might have almost died in the first fight, but it's okay because she got through the rest of the domain without dying. We meet the most adorable dead girl, which is probably only a sentence that makes sense when talking about Genshin. and she asked us to find a Coca-Cola at the Guizhong Ballista, but while there we run into some treasure hoarders. I forgot to heal before the start of the fight, and I think I'm gonna consider this one a draw. Now we can have dinner with the fancy, dignified man, and that's where Act 2 ends. Now we need to reach AR 28 to start Act 3. First I did some commissions, and then did the story quest for the other Narrative Tivat. Next thing I did was more Liyue exploration and Liyue world quest. After fighting the Electro Hypostasis some more for when we reach AR 30 and can extend Fischl again, I went to Cecilia Garden to get the rest of the experience I needed to reach AR 28. We activate the animo mechanism in the mountains with Faruzan, who I, in all honesty, do not remember getting.
This realm is no home for a princess.
What the fuck just happened? The melee soldiers at the Guizhong Ballista were easy, as were the Whopper Flowers later at Whaley Plains. Next was Child, and despite his electro resistance in Phase 2 and 3, the harder phases, he was ridiculously easy. It's so rare in these challenges that Child ever gives us any problems. In fact, I think he hasn't during the Archon quests. Last is Docile, and it was easy as ever, of course.
Do you have any ibuprofen? I got a headache.
That's the end of Act 3 and the end of Liyue. Now we need to reach AR 30 and complete both the Dainsleif quests to start Inazuma. Near the start of the Dainsleif world quest, we reached AR 30, and because we pre-farmed both her boss and her weapon ascension materials, we can automatically ascend both of those. The Dainsleif world quest was easy, and despite the fact that we died once during We Will Be Reunited, it was also pretty easy. Electro Abyss mages don't appear in these quests until the Chasm Dainsleif quest, so until then, these quests are kind of free. Before starting Inazuma, I tried grinding Golden Troop because it's a really good artifact set for Fischl, but I didn't get anything good. I also switched from Favonius Warbow to Prototype Crescent, which is a great bow, especially for only using one character. Speaking of weapons... Oh, 5-star, what is it gonna be? I was hoping for a bow, but, you know... Kill me. Now time for the Inazuma Prologue quest. All it has is some slimes and treasure hoarders, both of which being easy. With that done, we can start Inazuma Act 1. The first bit of combat in Act 1 is the transport mission, and all there is a bunch of treasure hoarders and some Ronin, which are both easily taken down. A lot of the quest is spent dealing with other people's problems. Wait, isn't that every quest? Later in the quest, we need to break somebody out of prison while fighting the Tamriel Commission. Something I realized about Fischl in this challenge is that while she doesn't usually have any good tools to deal with groups of enemies, her burst is actually quite useful for that. To start Act 2, we need to complete Ayaka's and Yoimiya's story quest, and both of these quests aren't worth covering, so let's skip to Act 2, which starts with us fighting the Raiden Shogun. You would think that Fischl being Electro would be a problem for us, but if you just let her hit you a bunch, the fight will end way earlier. We save the Virgin from two Tenryr Commission soldiers, and he takes us to the Resistance camp to meet Goru and do some archery demonstration. And for the first time in one of these solo challenges, we can do it with only the character we're using for the challenge. Fischl is goated. At the front lines, we easily defeat some more Tenryr Commission soldiers, and that's the end of Act 2. Act 3 starts with us becoming the leader of Sword Fischl too, and they have us take out some Ronin around Wachatsumi Island. Fischl can easily trigger the Electro Monuments, and the fight with the Electro Launcher was easy because of Electro Charge. Don't worry, this won't be the case for the next Electro Launcher. The Virgin dies.
I do not care. That sounds like a you problem.
And then we go to the Delusion Factory. Outside of dying in this room, it wasn't that bad. Not even the ever-annoying Electro Hammer guy could take us down. We meet Scaramouche, he drugs us, and then we get saved by Yamiko. She has us do some anti-Raiden Shogun training, and then... It's Sayu! Next we fight the Tenryl Commission again, and they were once again mid. Next is Signora, and god she was not difficult. The only reason we got taken down to red HP near the end of the fight was because of the pyro and cryo stuff that she puts on the floor that slowly damage you. Last is the Raiden Shogun. Much like other Electro character only challenges I've done, which is 1, this fight is not hard at all, it's just annoying. That's the end of Act 3 and the end of Inazuma. Now we need to reach AR-35 to start Sumeru, and we also need to do the Chasm Dainsleif quest, which I did after completing the AR-35 Ascension domain and grinding Fischl's boss. This quest absolutely sucked. It starts with tanky Black Serpent Knights, which are bad enough, but then it goes to a bunch of Electro Abyss enemies starting with the Electro Abyss Lecter. On my first try, 7 minutes into the fight, I died, which meant I had to restart it from the beginning. The second attempt took me 8 minutes, which means I spent almost 16 minutes fighting this one enemy. That's not the end of the difficult parts though, because there are 2 Electro Abyss Mages paired with other Abyss Mages that complement their elements well, which means I died quite a bit. The thing that sucks about dying is that you have to start over with all 4 cleansing devices, which means any fight that you cleared, you have to clear it again. But after being in this quest for over 2 hours, side note, this quest can be beaten in 30 minutes, we finally completed it and we can start some Mirror Act 1. Act 1 starts with us clearing out a Withering Zone. Utilizing Electrocharge, we made quick work of the fungi that were there. Inside of the Dream Domain were some hilly trails that were similarly easy. We go to Sumeru City to get our Akasha, go to Port Ormos, meet Alhaitham, buy some knowledge capsules from Dory, and test one of them on some fungi. Later we fought some Eremites at the docks. The rapid-firing crossbow Eremites were a little annoying, but none of them were difficult. Next is Act 2, which has no combat outside of these easy Eremites. Act 3 starts with us meeting
the Doctor,
and then fighting more Eremites in the forest, who were nothing special. Later on in the desert, we fight some Rift Hounds. 2 of them were weak to Electro, so there was nothing to worry about. Act 4 begins with more Eremites, give me some variety! This guy turns into an energy orb, and then we go to the Elazar Hospital with Alhaitham and fight some Hillydrills and a Geologil. The Geologil had the risk of being a lot more difficult than it was, but he thankfully went down fast. We trigger the 3 Dendro monuments by using Dendrogranum and our charge shots, and then later we go to the Mausoleum of King Deshret. While there we clear some easy puzzles and defeat some easy fungi, including the last room with 2 Dendro fungi and 2 Hydro fungi. They might have taken out quite a bit of our HP, but we took them down really fast. Fischl. Watch, first pull, it's gonna be official. This is official. I don't think you liked the pun I was about to make. Last is Act 5, which starts with Eremites. Are you surprised? At Party CI, we have to fight some Fatui soldiers. We quickly got destroyed by the first wave, which is, by the way, the easier wave. On the next attempt, we very slowly whittled down their HP, but next wave is an Electro Hammer guy and Pyro Gun guy. They weren't horrible, but what was horrible was the Electro Hammer guy and Agent. Having 2 enemies that could easily 3-shot Fischl, one of them being super tanky with their Electro Shields and another disappearing and randomly attacking you, is not fun. It took 3 attempts, and even the last one was very close.
even the most rational scholar will yearn for the power of a god in a moment of desperation. Aren't you doing the exact same thing as me, Alhaitham?
I haven't even done anything to you, motherfucker!
Next is the Dias Foundry, which is filled with Fatui soldiers. Given how that last fight went, I'm horrified. But honestly, it wasn't that bad. We got pretty close to dying in this room, but outside of that, nobody was really a problem. Next is Scaramouche, or if we want to call him by his boss name, Shoku no Kami, the prodigal everlasting lord of arcane wisdom. Phase 1 was a little slow, but that's to be expected because of his electro resistance. And besides, we couldn't really die in that phase because there's literally a platform that'll passively heal you. Fischl obviously can't destroy the Nirvana engines in phase 2, but we can sacrifice Nahida to the Setsune Sometsu. After that is the polluted domain. Doesn't it feel great to get ganged up on by 3 Rift Hounds going from full HP to dead? Similarly on the boat, we go from full HP to 72 HP in a matter of seconds because of burning. I still beat the first phase, but I died to the Electro Lower. Also, Mihoyo, fix this damn domain! I would be right up in the Electro Lower's phase attacking it, and it would stop attacking me, go back to where it spawned, and gain all of its HP back. I would have beaten this enemy a lot faster if it weren't for him doing that multiple times. After that truly insufferable battle, we're done with Act 5. Now we need to reach Air 40 and also complete the next Danes of Quest, Kari Bear. Before doing that though, I need to fight the Electro Hypostasis a few more times for our boss drops. Amber really is the unsung hero of this challenge. In the middle of Kari Bear, we reached Air 40, so we don't have to worry about grinding. Don't talk about the fact that I easily defeated the Cryo Herald, but almost died to some Electro Slimes. Amber's in the party because you need a Pyro character to light a cooking pot earlier in the quest, if you were wondering. With Kari Bear done, we can start Fontaine. We meet Linny and Lynette at Maritime Harbor, who take us to the court of Fontaine, where we meet Fremine and Child. He takes the only bit of combat in this entire quest, so we're going to move on to Act 2. Side note, why is this line delivery so funny to me?
What is it, Fremine? I'm in a hurry.
Act 2 is mainly spent with Navia, until we have to go to the underwater domain and fight some Clockwork Mecha. Not very difficult, but some of the fights were more annoying or dangerous than others. Acts 3 and 4 are spent entirely in the Fortress of Meripede, so let's just skip to Act 5. But before we do that, what do we think Fischl got in jail for? Must have been the flying object law in Fontaine, given all the Oz usage we've had. Act 5 starts with the Tower Domain. Normally I highlight how absolutely atrociously difficult the final fight in this tower is for most challenges, but I forgot to record it because my internet went out. It took 3 tries for Fischl, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that bad. Later we put Farina on trial for not being a real Archon, which leads to lore and us fighting 2 Hydro Gardemex. Once again, not difficult. Last is the all-devouring Narwhal. You pretty much can't die in this fight because of the buffs that Neuvillette gives you, so this was easy.
The value for these big
That's where Act 5 ends. All we have to do to start Notlan is complete the next stanza of quest, Bedtime Story. Basically, the gist of this Archon quest is that Kari Barrett was planting a bunch of memories into the minds of this village so he could live out some kind of normal life, and he also messes with Dainsleif's memory to let the Abyss get their hands on the Eye of the First Field Tiller. As for the combat, there was a fight early on that caused me quite a lot of trouble. It had 1 Pyro Abyss Mage and 2 Cryo Abyss Mages, and Fischl is much better at single target eliminations, so having 3 shielded enemies targeting me at once who also regain their shield if you don't kill them in time was a recipe for multiple deaths. Honestly, Fischl's frailty is becoming quite a big problem. For instance, the Cryo Abyss Herald would normally be easy, but because of how I play Fischl in this challenge, he got a lot of hits on me and knocked me down to very low HP. But with Bedtime Story done, we can start Notlan. Act 1 starts with us meeting Kachina, otherwise known as the cutest patootie in Notlan. She shows us around the Children of Echo's camp before taking us to the Stadium of the Sacred Flame, where we meet Mualani, Kanich, and Ahau. It turns out that Kachina is going to be participating in a pilgrimage, which is a tournament to decide who will be sent to fight the Abyss in the Night Warden Wars. Sadly, all her team members dropped out on her, but Mualani agrees to team up with her. Together they steamroll the teamwork part of the pilgrimage. In the solo part, Kachina manages to clear out most of their fights and make it to the final battle with Mualani, which she wins. Afterwards, Mualani takes us to the People of the Springs, where we chill out for the rest of the day. However, we wake up later to some abyssal forces attacking the base. We have to take out some Rift Hounds and Abyssal Saurians, and thankfully most of the Rift Hounds are Electro, which are for some reason weak to Electro. As for the Abyssal Saurians, they're pretty much just beefed up Saurians, so they're no big deal. The only real annoying thing is the Abyssal Pylon, which is way easier to take down with Night Soul Blessing characters, but since we can only use Fischl, we just have to slowly attack it with our charge attacks because Oz doesn't track onto them. With that done, we can move on to Act 2. We start by going to the Stadium of the Sacred Flame to join in the Ode of Resurrection for Kachina, who fell in battle, but for some reason it doesn't work. We join Mawika in the Speaker's Chamber to investigate why this happened, and it seems that the Abyss are holding Kachina hostage in some way. Knowing this, we go to find Kachina's ancient name. When we left, the captain shows up and had a fucking epic fight with Mawika before escaping.
Think fast, Chuckle Nuts!
Later, we start the process to retrieve Kachina's ancient name, and while doing that, we fight some Abyssal Saurians and a Pyro Abyss Mage, all of which being pretty easy. We retrieve her ancient name and make contact with Kachina before entering a domain to enter the Night Kingdom. Oh yeah, Eon-san's here now too. Hi, Eon-san. In this domain are mostly normal enemies that don't pose much problems, but this stupid Geolowatrol killed me multiple times and made me so annoyed. The one in Sumeru wasn't nearly as bad as this one. Once we're in the Night Kingdom, we quickly locate Kachina and fight off some Rift Hounds, nearly dying in the process. We then reach the Wybe of the Children of Echoes, but we got confronted by a Pyro Abyss Lecter. And I was kinda excited to fight it because it's the last of the Lectors / Heralds we haven't fought in a challenge before. But unfortunately, they make us use Kachina and Mualani to defeat them with the power of friendship. I'm not joking. Mawika busts us out of the Night Kingdom and we celebrate Kachina's return. Act 3 time. Act 3 starts with Kachina taking us to meet Zelonin, who Mawika asks to forge an ancient name for us, but Zelonin tells us that's not really possible, at least with her skills. Because of this, we contact Seatlali for help and meet up with her at the Stadium of the Sacred Flame. We also learn that someone named Auroron apparently either joined or was coerced into joining the Fatui. Also, we actually get guidance as a mortal character's age? We first start by helping Seatlali find Auroron using some of her Masters of the Nightwind powers, and during that we get dragged to the Night Kingdom by Auroron and the Captain. This basically boils down to the Captain requesting an in-person meeting with us, and when we come to, we realize that Seatlali found a Fatui camp with Auroron inside it. We charge in and fight the Fatui soldiers that are present, and oh my god, I hated this! The first wave has an Electro Hammer guy, a Hydro Healer guy, and an Agent. Unlike most other fights in this game, when you defeat one of the enemies and return to the area, the battle restarts. With Fischl's frailty already becoming a problem, I don't think I need to tell you why this was terrible. Oh, but it gets worse, because there's a Phase 2. You're more likely than not already at low HP at the beginning of Phase 2, and because of my rules, I can't heal. This random battle took almost 30 minutes of attempts, not including the part where I went to go make more food. Auroran tells us he's siding with a Fatui because if he didn't, then they were going to track down Seatlali somehow. Because of this, Seatlali pleads Auroran's case to Mawika, but when we meet up with him and the captain later, we learn that he's actually siding with the Fatui because the captain found a way to save Natlan that differs from Mawika's plan, and that Mawika has a backup plan that relates to the Gnosis, which is why he was trying to get it. Our conversation was cut short because Seatlali found us and was pissed at Auroran. While walking back to the Stadium of the Sacred Flame, Auroran gets away. Seatlali gets drunk, and we learn that Auroran apparently was going to be used as a sacrifice to try and fix the ley lines, but it didn't work. His soul is also not complete. When he learned about that, he felt like he owed a debt to Natlan in a way, which is why he's so steadfast about working with the captain. Around the next morning, we learn that a bunch of areas have been attacked by the Abyss. Before going to help the Children of Echoes, we first have a talk with Mawika and learn about her plans regarding the Gnosis. She tells us that it can fix the ley lines of Natlan and fix the Night Kingdom, but at the cost of all the memories and legends recorded in the Night Kingdom. This will cause a lot of harm to the nation of Natlan, so she doesn't want to do this. At the Children of Echoes, we take out an Abyssal Pylon using some trial characters because Fischl has really been carrying Teyvat. She deserves a break. Later on, we learn that Seatlali managed to peer inside of Auroran's memories, and we find out more about his reasons for siding with the Fatui, and also the captain's plan to reconstruct the ley lines, which would cause similar problems as to the Gnosis plan. Next is Act 4. We tell Mawika about the captain's plans, and we find and break into their hideout to stop them. Inside of there, we find a... Are you fucking kidding me? It's fine, they honestly weren't that bad. We do a simple image puzzle using the Yoshi Saurian, and we find a Hunter-Seeker automation. I've never liked these guys and their weird resistances. We find Auroran and the captain, but just as we were going to stop them, Auroran's soul just seems to be taken over by someone. The captain subdues him and recognizes him, and using that time, we stop the device.
Anyway, class is cancelled tomorrow. Go have fun. Yippee!
Auroran's determination and strength of will repels the intruder's soul from his body, and he receives an ancient name. The Lord of the Night gets summoned and offers a way to fix the ley lines, but Mawika refuses because he would do the same thing as the Gnosis plan. Back at the stadium, the captain and Mawika have a discussion and get on the same page. Now the Fatui is also helping the warriors of Natlan with the Abyss threat. When we leave the speaker's chamber, we see Kachina and Mulani tending to someone and rushing to fight the Abyss. Something tells me something bad's gonna happen soon. Seatlali and Zelonin get the assistance of the Lord of the Night for forging the ancient name for us when the time comes. I hope the ancient name is Prinzessin. When we wake up the next morning, we learn that the Abyss is attacking all over Natlan, and we need to go to a bunch of locations to clear them out. That premise is almost the entire rest of the Archon quest. We have a lot of fights, but I don't feel like any of them are really worth going into. All of them are pretty much boiled down to attack the Abyssal Pylon or the enemy that has the Void Ward effect. Sure, we died a few times, but overall it's not that bad. Slow? Yes. But because we have helpers for almost all of these, the enemies will target the helpers instead of us, and they can't die, so we're safe to rain down attacks on the Abyssal Pylons or the enemies that are affected with the Void Ward effect. This gameplay loop ends when Chaska's sister, Koichi, succumbs to abyssal corruption and dies. Chaska manages to control her outburst in this moment and gets granted an ancient name. With this, there are heroes for every tribe of Natlan, which means Mawika's plan can finally come to fruition. A cool ass cutscene happens, and now anyone can be revived by the Sacred Flame, not just ancient name bearers. Using this ability, we steamroll the last bit of abyss enemies plaguing Natlan, and Mawika expels the big abyss thing in the sky. With that, Act 4 is complete, and now we need to do the Natlan Interlude quest. But who cares, all this has is some easy battles and, ooh, vibing with the Yansan. Oh wait, forget her, look at the captain! Now we can start Act 5. But, so I paused the recording at the end of the Interlude quest, and I only just remembered to unpause it. So I'm just gonna quickly sum up what happened. The captain is apparently carrying a bunch of souls in his body, particularly ones from Conria. Did I forget to mention that he's from Conria? And our ancient name gets finished, meaning we can enter the Night Kingdom with Mawika and take the fight right to the root of the problem. Before that, though, we have some more fights with enemies that have the Void Ward effect. I really wish I had Night Soul Blessing. Now it's time to fight Gasoithoth. At least I wish. You can't even use your characters for the first part of this fight, it just locks your team to only Pyro Traveler. In the second phase, it makes sense that it locks the party to only Pyro Traveler and Mawika, but I still wish I could have used Fischl for the final battle. This is kinda anticlimactic. I mean, I tried the fight afterwards with only Fischl, and chalk this up to me not knowing how Gasoithoth works, or chalk it up to the fact that this boss is very much meant for you to lean on certain characters, but I didn't stand a chance. Still, I don't think they've ever gone harder on a boss design in this game. We see the cutest moment of the entire game. Oh my god, I literally almost teared up seeing it. It's just so fucking precious. And despite Gisoythos being defeated, we're not quite done because Lolly says that Moeka is still going to die. We check Cinder City to try and find her and the Ruler of Death, and we find them both, along with the Lord of the Night. We try to talk Moeka down from doing this, but her mind is set. But just as she was about to go through with it, the captain shows up. We learn that his heart was modified to convert souls into knowledge, but after the cataclysm, he made it so he would house the souls instead of converting them. And he did that all for a chance like this. He came to an agreement with the Lord of the Night, and the captain takes the place of Moeka's sacrifice, but because of the captain's curse of immortality, the Ruler of Death would either have to go against the curse she placed onto him, or trigger a paradox. The Ruler of Death doesn't go against the immortality curse, triggering the paradox and allowing the captain to trigger his final wish, sending all the souls inside of him, including his, into the Night Kingdom, pretty much killing him. But also allowing those outside of Natlan who suffered due to the Abyss to finally rest. Oh, it's so peak! We pay respect to those that fought for Natlan, and that's where Natlan ends. That means we beat Genshin Impact using only Fischl. Boy, what a roller coaster of a challenge! For a while, the challenge was just ridiculously easy. Enemies weren't dealing much damage, and Fischl was dealing plenty of damage. In the later parts of the challenge, Fischl started to struggle a lot more due to her frailty. Despite this, she was always doing a lot of damage. She couldn't sustain herself very well, but she could take enemies down swiftly. On the tier list of difficulty, I'm putting this challenge at the bottom of kind of difficult, just barely missing out on a tier below because of how much she died, and at the bottom of great on the solo tier list. I 100% see why Fischl is still considered one of the best Electro characters. My next challenge? No idea. But if you want to see me stream what'll be one of my next challenges, I'm streaming my most requested challenge of all time, Kokomi only. Until then, I'll leave you with that. I just ended the recording as I get this 5-star.
A guide from the people
What?
of the Springs.
What the fuck?